Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk. I'm Sammy here, back with another deck tech video, and today we're going to be going over Briar, Warden of Thorns. It's a Briar deck that I have been messing around with and testing and trying to get right. I'm just a casual mid-level player, but it's something that I've been really enjoying playing. I love Briar and the diversity that she gives. And then on the Calling Cincinnati, I saw a Briar deck in the top 8 that was similar to mine. Obviously some definite differences, and the player playing it was probably an amazing Briar player. But it was just cool to see like a go wide Lightning Briar deck do decently well at an event. I think a lot of people have been trying to do Earth Briar, which is also a good option, but a lot of people kind of haven't been trying out the Lightning Briar other than like sealed formats or anything like that. So it was really cool to see it. So I thought it'd be cool to show my version of that Lightning Briar deck. Again, some similarities with the deck itself, but there's also some differences in how I run it as opposed to how he ran it. But yeah, we'll get right into it. The bottom line with this deck, and the key thing that you got to know, is I'm trying to create as many embodiment of Earth tokens as possible and put pressure on the opponent with a high aggro build. This build is similar to like an aggro Katsu, where like I don't want to block, or if I do block, I only want to block with one card, because I've created 2 or 3 Earth Embodiment tokens and Embodiment of Earth tokens, and I can block with one card for 5 or 6. I just played a couple games last night, and I had a couple turns where I created 3 or 4 Earth tokens, and I literally was blocking with 1 non-attack action for 5 or 1 non-attack action for 6, and that's just a really good feeling. It's kind of like a Katsu with its flick flacks. Like with this, it's you have your non-attack action. So I don't think there was a turn where I didn't create an embodiment of Earth token. There's very few times my opponent could block me out unless he just blanked his whole hand. I played against a Viscerai, a Bolton, a Prism, and a Bravo, and I went 50%, so decent win rate, doing well with it. But yeah, this deck has gone through a lot of iterations, but we'll get right into it. For me, this is the loadout that I run. Obviously, Arcanite Skullcap's really good, and you should run it if you have it right. But I don't think it's necessarily needed in this deck. It just depends on what you're going to do, because you're not trying to block innately with this deck as much as you want. It's really with the Arcane Barrier, though. But for me, Grasp the Arcanite is the arm piece. It's really hard to substitute this out. Like, there's no real substitute for Grasp. You can make Rune Chance off of it. It blocks for 3 over its lifespan, right? It's just a really good card. If you don't have this card, you can use what you can use is very limited, as opposed to how it synergizes with Briar. Mark of Lightning is actually probably the next best card to use, to be honest, because it gives you that extra Embodiment of Earth token when someone defends a card that you're attacking with, but it doesn't block, so that kind of sucks. Stubby Hammers is another one, as low tier equipment as that is, because it gives your next attack with base 3 or less +1, which some of these have, some of these lower level attacks. It just depends on what you want to use. But really, there's no substitute for Grasp the Arcanite. I know it's a hard card. It's a premium card to get right now, but it's one that you kind of want to have to make this deck go. So it blocks and creates Rune Chance to deal a little bit more arcane damage. For the chess piece, I'm actually using Aether Ironweave. I like it a lot for Briar. You can use Heart and Cross Trap too, but I like the fact that it blocks for 1. And Aether's Ironweave is how it differentiates from Heart and Cross Trap, is you have to play an attack and a non-attack action to gain those 2 resources. But what's nice about it is it's not 2 resources on the next card, it's 2 resources total. And with this deck, I would say 9 out of 10 turns, you're going to be playing an attack and a non-attack action first, and your attack action likely is going to have Go Again. Pretty much every card in this deck either has Go Again or has conditional Go Again. Literally every card. I don't think there's one card in here, Arcanic Crackle, and then the Lightning Press. Other than those 2 cards, every card in this deck has Go Again or conditional Go Again. So you're going to get those 2 resources almost anytime you want. So I really like Aether Ironweave, and again, it blocks for 1. Another one is if you sub out a couple other cards, like maybe you play some Meet and Greets, or you play a Spellblade Strike or something like that in place for like an Arcanic Crackle, and you're generating a little bit more Rune Chant tokens, Bloodsheath Skeleton would be really good as well, because if you make a Rune Chant with Grasp of the Arcanite one turn, and then you can pop Bloodsheath Skeleton, and now all your attacks and non-attacks cost 1 less. With this deck, it's not as big of a deal because there's so many 0-cost cards. But Bloodsheath Skeleton does block for 3 over its lifespan as opposed to 1. because sometimes you're not always going to need these 2 resources, right? So you can do either one of these. They're actually tit for tat on which one. I just kind of been maining Ether Iron Weave right now. For the headpiece, if you have Arcanite Skullcap, use it. It's great. But if you don't have it, because not everybody has that card, Crown Dichotomy is an amazing card, and it's actually a card you could main anyway. It brings 2 Runeblade cards back from the graveyard, 1 attack, 1 non-attack action. And it's good to play at the end of a turn to maybe you just play the cards. You're up on your next turn. Maybe you played a good hand the prior turn, and you want to bring those cards back on top of your deck. You can use this, and it also has Arcane Barrier, which is really good for the matchups because I think the weakness there's a couple of weaknesses to this deck. I think Ice, like Channel Lake Frigid, would hurt this deck a little bit, or give it trouble at least because there's a lot of reds. But also, Arcane actually would hurt this deck because it's really red, and so it's hard to pitch to block the Arcane. So having Arcane Barrier, at least some form of it, is really nice on the main piece of equipment. For the feat, I'm running Spellbound Creepers. It's great. Like I said, most of my cards have Go Again, but every once in a while I won't have Go Again on attack, like a Lightning Surge that wasn't played from Arsenal, or I don't have an Embodiment Lightning token and I play like an Arcanic Crackle, but I've dealt arcane damage that turn. I'll put a bind counter on Spellbound Creepers to keep my turn going. Ideally, every turn you want to be playing your whole hand, or 3-card hands that deal pretty good damage. A lot of the non-attacks in this deck are pumps, so you're going to be dealing pretty high damage with a little bit of arcane splashed in there to create multiple Embodiment of Earth tokens. So that's my loadout for equipment. I also have Bloodseed Skeleton, Snapdragon Scalers if you don't have Spellbound Creepers, and Arcanite Skullcap. I'm running Thorn as well. I love the 2-2. And when you combine that with some additional arcane, it's just really good. But Rebeam Blade's also very useful if you're playing a Bolt, and if you're playing someone with a lot of life gain, it's really useful in that. Maybe even a Prism, it would be good for that. So it just helps you to prevent them from gaining life and making it harder on you. So getting into the deck, there are 30 attack and 30 non-attack actions in this deck, and then I added on 3 Lightning Presses. So it's a 63-card main deck. It honestly, to me, I like the 63. You could take the Lightning Presses out, but they really help you push that extra damage, especially late game. And the 30 and 30 is a good split because that's what you want in a deck like this. Even though it is aggro, sometimes all I want to do is pump a card up with a pump non-attack action, play the non-attack action that has Go Again, that's hitting for 7 or 8, and then swing with my Thorn for 2-2. And that's a good turn, right? You're hitting for 9-10 physical damage, and you're hitting for maybe 1 to 3 arcane, depending, or 2 to 4 arcane, depending on what cards you played in your attack. So I run Vigor Rush. It's a 1 cost. If you play a non-attack action prior to it, it gains Go Again. This is really good to pump with like a Captain's Call, or pump it with another source, Nimblism, something that's pumping that card. It's really good for that. Sometimes I'll even play a Weave Lightning before it, and then play Vigor Rush. I know Weave Lightning doesn't pump it, and that's not the purpose. You play Weave Lightning because Weave Lightning gives your next lightning or elemental attack action card you play this turn +1 if it's fused Go Again. So you can play a Weave Lightning, then play Vigor Rush to give Vigor Rush Go Again, and then play a lightning or elemental attack after that. That will get pumped from that first Weave Lightning you played. So a lot of the pumps that are conditional in this deck, the good thing about them is they say this turn, not your next attack gains X. It's for Weave Lightning, it's the next lightning or elemental attack this turn gains that much base attack. So it's really good. You don't necessarily have to play Weave Lightning right before the attack you're going to use it with. As long as you have the card in the hand you're going to play at some point during that turn, then it's really good. I play Plunder Run, obvious reasons. It pumps my attacks and allows me to threaten to draw a card, which is really good for this deck. The more cards you can draw, the better. Lightning Surge, really good out. Arsenal, really good for fusing. There's a couple of cards that I have in here that need fuses. Captain's Call, I'm only running 2 of it. You can run 3 of it if you want. I just ran 2 because I have other pumps, so it's fine. Electrify, I run to try to draw cards. I always try to arsenal this card so I can draw something out and do the +3. This card is amazing with Ball Lightning. If you Electrify and then you play Ball Lightning and your Ball Lightning hits, it also pumps your Electrify ability. So instead of Electrify dealing 3 additional damage, it's going to deal 4 additional damage. So it forces people to block that Ball Lightning out. One of my favorite things to do is I will play Electrify out of Arsenal, draw a card, then I'll play a pump spell like Weave Lightning, then I'll play a Ball Lightning. So my Ball Lightning's hitting for like 6 or so, and they are forced to block it out because it's going to basically deal 10 damage to them if they don't. I run flash. It gives any card in my deck go again automatically, which is really nice. This is really good if you play this, then an attack action, then a non-attack action, which gives you a lightning token, and then you play your second attack in hand. So now you just went non-attack, attack, non-attack, attack, and hopefully you have you maybe have one card in arsenal, maybe you still have one card in hand. You can use it for Thorn. I've definitely had 5-card hands where I had an attack in arsenal and I went non-attack, attack, non-attack, attack, and then I had one card left and I pitched that for Thorn. So I basically was attacking 3 times in the turn, and that happened pretty consistently with the amount of reds that I have. Lightning Press is good just to get that extra damage out, and 0 cost, which is great. It doesn't block, which isn't ideal, but I already have 30 non-attack actions in this deck, so I'm not worried too much about not having blocks with my Embodiment of Earth tokens. So that's for that. Twine Lightning is fantastic. You fuse it against Go Again. I have quite a few Lightning cards in this deck, so I almost always can give it Go Again, or just use as a Lightning token to get Go Again. Arcanic Crackle, I like it. It's not as powerful as other Runeblade attack actions, but it's 0 cost. And if I can couple this with an Embodiment of Lightning token, then I'm in really good shape, right? Because you're forcing 2 cards out of hand with this if they want to fully block you out with this card, because they have to block the physical and then pitch for the arcane. So as weak as this card looks, you can easily get that 1 arcane damage to go through, and now you have an Embodiment of Earth token for your next defense. I use Ravenous Rabble, which normally is kind of a meme card. Not a lot of people use it, but for this deck, it's fantastic because I have so many reds. I'd say 80% of the time, this card's going to hit for 4 with Go Again, so it's really useful. I run 6 Weave Lightnings, the blues for pitch, but also to pump a little bit, and then the reds to pump my lightning elemental attacks, which is quite a few. I like running Rites of Lightning because if you fuse it, it deals arcane damage. And also, this is a good second attack to play in this deck because if you have already dealt arcane, you can just play Rites of Lightning without fusing it, and it'll have Go Again because you've dealt arcane damage this turn. Arcanic Shockwave is great, especially if you fuse it. It deals that extra arcane. If you couple this with like a Sting of Sorcery and a Flicker Wisp, then it's even better. If you can Sting of Sorcery, Flicker Wisp, Arcanic Shockwave, and then fuse it, which is very possible because none of them cost anything. Now you're dealing 4 arcane total from the card because it's dealing 2 from Sting of Sorcery's buff off of Flicker Wisp and 2 from the card itself. So you're hitting for 4 and 4 basically, and it's really good in that light. Ball Lightning, self-explanatory. This card's just broken. It forces your opponent to block every time. If they don't, you're just taking unnecessary chip damage and you're building Earth tokens. It's almost like swinging with a weapon that no one wants to block. I run 3 Enlightened Strikes. Really good card. It's good in any deck, right? And it's really good for this deck because it's 0 cost. I can give it Go Again. I can Spellbound Creeper it if I've dealt arcane damage. I can give it +2 at the end of my turn. I can draw a card off of it, which is equally as good. If I have an Embodiment Lightning token, I'll sometimes play this card, sink, and draw a card because it already has Go Again. I don't have to give it Go Again, and keep playing my turn out. Sometimes drawing that extra card is better than the +2 you would give it. Tome of the Arknight I run because I have 30 of each, so it's really easy to get extra cards off of this, and then also play my first non-attack action to help proc my Thorn, which deals 2 and 2 if you've dealt a non-attack and attack action. Sting of Sorcery I like because every attack from then on out deals 1 arcane, which is really good in this deck to help create those Earth tokens. It forces your opponent to really have to block you out. I run Nimblism. All my cards cost 1 or less, literally every single card. So it's going to pump every attack in my deck, +3, and it has Go Again. This is one of the best cards you can run. You could even run this at yellow, and it would still be really good. I've actually thought about running it at yellow, to be honest with you. Then you have Flicker Wisp, which is really good. It deals 2 arcane by itself if it's fused, and then it pumps all your arcane attacks. I also use this for block and pitch. And then finally, Pulse of Candlehold just to bring some cards back into my deck. You can honestly take this out if you want. I just like it because it blocks for 3 and it's a non-attack action. So if I have 2 Embodiment of Earth tokens, just 2, this blocks for 5, which if you're already ahead in the game and you don't think you're going to get fatigued out, you can just block with this card. And it's not as bad as you think to block with it. That's the deck. As you can see, you're going to go wide. I can't remember the exact amount, but just looking at it face value, as I'm literally scrolling up here, 3, 6, 9 1-cost cards in this deck, and the rest are 0 cost. So out of a 63 card deck, we have 9 1 cost and 54 0 cost. So you can see that like nothing, you can play a full hand easy every single time. The only thing that's going to get you is ice a little bit because you do have a lot of reds. I think I have 9 blues in this whole deck. 3 Weave Lightning, 3 Sting of Sorcery, and 3 Tome of the Arknights. For sideboard, you could bring in Modern Skies if you're playing against ice and you want 1 to give your Runeblade attacks go again, which is a decent amount in here, or 2, also use it just for a little bit extra pitch. Command and Conquer, I would only put this in if you add more blues. It's a great card, but with only 9 blues, it makes it a little bit difficult to play sometimes. You can play it off of Ether Ironweave if you want, but that would break the chain. But it's not that big a deal. And then another set of blues you think you could run is Meet and Greet. Meet and Greet's really good because you've already dealt arcane damage. It has go again. And also creates a rune chant if it hits. So blue Meet and Greet being played for 2. Nobody really wants to block that card. And if you play a Nimblism before it, then it's hitting for 5, right? So it's not a bad card at all to have. It's really useful. So this is my deck. It's doing pretty good. I really have fun with it, right? I'm not saying take this deck to Nationals or anything like that. You could make alterations to it. There's probably definitely different things you could do with it. But this is my version of like the ultimate go wide aggro Briar. That's just creating as many tokens as possible. Because in my opinion, if you attack with a 4 or 5 card hand, even if you only hit for 5-6 damage, if those 5-6 pieces of damage are like 2 or 3 multiple instances of damage, then all of a sudden on your defense, all you have to do, unless they're really going wide against you, all you have to do is block with 1 non-attack action. And with this deck, if you have 3 cards in hand, like you have a full set of attacks, right? So it's really useful in that aspect, and it's really fun to play. You'll probably see a gameplay of this on the Cape Fear Collectibles channel that I help create content for, so definitely check that out. And I will probably post on there as well talking about this deck, and you'll see the gameplay of it. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoy this. Please let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the deck, good and bad. It's fine. I'm totally open to opinions and alterations to the deck. I know there's a lot of great players out there. If you have time, also go to another Flesh and Blood creator and like and subscribe and comment on their stuff so we can get more people seeing the game and enjoy it. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in to TCG Talk. I'm Sammy, and I'll see y'all next time.